Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you could be here with us today. And Michelle is putting up a link to today's slides if you need that. I'm Jonathan Cressing. I'm the Director of Youth Services with Vocational Rehabilitation. And we have 5 presenters today. Michelle Oja from the Department of Education, Kathy Savage with Opportunity Enterprises, Miriam O'Malley Long with Bonavista, Lucas Krager with Easter Seals. And I want to give a special shout out to all of them for their help today. They really did most of the hard work on this. And I especially want each of you to know that I was bragging on you yesterday. I was part of a kind of a national webinar through WinTAC. And I think we actually have some WinTAC people with us today. And it was about kind of VR going virtual, under the current circumstances. And I stole all your information, well, not all of it, but some highlights from each of your slides and shared that to talk about how great we're doing and what amazing providers we have. I also wanted to do kind of you guys hear from me all the time, and I appreciate you, but I don't often get to talk directly to career coaches, and I'm hoping that a lot of the so far 71 people that we have on today are career coaches, because I want to tell you how much I appreciate all the hard work that you're doing and the difference that you're making in the lives of these students with disabilities. You don't hear but I think you're doing great work. You're really doing the hard work. I appreciate not only you moving to virtual pre-eds so quickly and so well, but really the difference that you guys are making. And you need to know that sincerely. So thank you again for that. So what I thought we would start with is virtual work-based learning. I have just a couple of slides on that. This is stuff that I actually stole from a webinar earlier this week. NTACT and WinTAC, they're 2 of our federal technical assistance centers put together. And you guys know what all of these things are: career mentorship, informational interviews, that kind of thing. But I thought it would be interesting to think about how you might be able to move those to virtual reality, if you will. We haven't really been focused on that because it seemed easier to kind of get things up and running to focus on the other 4 activities. To me, and in my mind, those seemed a lot easier to move to sort of virtual pre-eds. But as I learned from this webinar earlier this week, that hopefully some of you were able to tune into, there's a lot that we can do that revolves around work-based learning that can also be virtual. So these are just some sort of quick ideas of things that you might be able to do virtually. Haven't been focused on that, but I really think that, maybe we should. Here's some ideas for how to do that. And then my final slide is just some ideas of activities and resource from work-based learning. Again, this was taken from the NTACT and the WinTAC presentation. Oh, I should tell you that I have a link to the actual webinar itself. I'll send that out to everyone. I thought it was really good. And frankly, I think it ought to be required viewing for everyone involved in this, because I found it really helpful. So here's some sort of quick ideas. Hopefully you guys are familiar with some of these. The T-Folio is a free transition portfolio that's online. You don't have to use the entire portfolio, but the idea is that Unit 3 of the T-Folio is all about work-based learning experiences, so you might find that helpful. Remote job shadowing and worksite tours. Again, some of you are probably doing some of those things, but hopefully, if you are, this provides some reinforcement for that. If you're not, maybe it'll give you some inspiration, some other ideas that you haven't had before. But remote job shadowing and worksite tours, kind of the idea behind that is to work with your local businesses and help them connect with your students kind of virtually. Employers can provide a virtual workplace tour, introduce the students to employees that may be on site. They can explain and demonstrate their work tasks, encourage opportunities when appropriate. Informational interviews. Again, I know that you're familiar with informational interviews, but the idea here is to make them a little more interactive. So again, working with your employers, maybe provide guidance to them on how to make them interactive. When employers talk about their jobs online, they can bring tools of their trade to show what they do, that kind of thing. So interactive informational interviews. Mentoring activities can absolutely be done online fairly easily. the idea behind this, rather than sort of general mentoring activities, is that it's more specific to individualized students, careers and their particular interests. Let's see, it's intentionally focused on helping students identify and explore their career interests rather than just providing general support and encouragement. So that's mentoring activities. One that was sort of new to me was the pre-boarding and onboarding videos. I mean, I'm familiar with those, but I'd never really thought about using those to kind of introduce students to more aspects of a particular career or a particular work site. So these are, and it shows, a little more in depth of what to expect from that job, that kind of thing. Many of those are available online. Road Trip Nation, I thought was really cool. I hadn't been familiar with that one. Maybe some of you are. These are stories of people who have overcome challenges to kind of live their dream, basically. And it includes, a lot of famous people and some not so famous people. John Legend has a video on Road Trip Nation. Michelle Obama has a video on Road Trip Nation. And it's just sort of inspiring and motivating to see what obstacles these individuals have overcome to kind of realize their dreams and get into their career path that they want. And KQED Career Path videos is another example of, some work-based learning activities that you can do online. It's like 50 different videos sponsored by PBS Learning Media. And again, if you're interested in any of these, I did send out the PowerPoint for these earlier this week. And I think something popped up in chat. Brenda from WinTech said that will be available. I think she said April 30th. Did somebody else see that sort of popped up and I missed it real quickly? But that's all I've got. Let me pull up the chat here and see. Should probably have that going. April 13th. The NTAC WinTech WBLE webinar will be available April 13th, as well as additional related resources. So you guys can see that in chat, I think. So that'll be coming soon. So our next presenter is Michelle Oja from the Department of Education. She's going to give you the view from the Department of Ed. So carry on, Michelle.
All right, here we go. So.
And again, if you guys have questions as we go along, feel free to type those in and we'll try to answer them.
Hi. My chat goes away when I go to present. That's interesting. Jonathan, if you can keep track of the chat for me.
I'm watching it now. I had a hard time watching it when I was presenting.
Great.
I'm going to mute myself though.
Okay. So we, Jonathan and I have been working together a lot over the last couple of weeks because of everything that's going on. And so I just wanted to share out some best practices for continuous learning through pre-ETs during COVID-19. So some overall things to keep in mind. As part of Governor Holcomb's closing of schools until the end of the school year, not all schools are going to be in session the full time of the school year this year. Schools are now only required to have 160 days. And they are allowed to do a combination of waiver days and continuous learning days. And they have to have a minimum of 20 days of instruction through continuous learning between now and the end of the school year. So thinking about how inclement weather days or school breaks work and how to best provide pre-ETs if schools are using waiver days or if they're needing to cut their calendars short due to not having the most effective ways to do continuous learning is something to keep in mind. Communication is going to be key. It's going to be something that you're going to hear a lot today. Make sure that you're reaching out to the school that your students are attending before you're reaching out to the students and the families. This will help you know how those continuous learning days are working. So I know some are doing a combination of waiver days and continuous learning days during the week. Some are on one week, some are off another week. Schedules look very different right now than what they would typically look like. be consistent with the communication methods the school is using to keep in touch with students and families. You'll hear some ways that you can do that later on today, so I won't go into a lot of detail about that. In order for students to participate in pre-ETs, you have to get authorization from families, but because this is a unique situation, getting reauthorization is going to be really important. And in that Google folder that I've shared the link to, and I'll share it again before we end today, it's not in there now, but there will be a resource on how to get e-signatures during this time. You're going to want to think about really going again and getting that authorization for these circumstances, because your families were signing up for in-person interaction, and they might not feel comfortable with you doing video chats or phone chats or some other things. So making sure that they know what the plan is, the school knows what the plan is, and everybody's in the loop is going to be important. As I've said, schedules are really different right now. So just make sure that you're staying in contact and you're working with those teachers of record to make sure that what you're doing and what they're doing are still working well together. And we're not trying to do way more than what school is doing. So if schools aren't doing a whole lot, make sure that you're not adding a lot of things to students' plates. This is a really stressful and anxiety-producing time for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, as I'm sure you're all aware. And we just want to keep social emotional wellness in the forefront of everything we're doing right now. And so therefore, keep it simple. What you want to really focus on right now is those relationships. Keeping any time that you're doing video conferencing or phone conversations short, and allowing your students to take the lead. You might have an activity planned that you think is the best thing ever, but they might just need to talk some stuff out that's going on right now. So just keeping that all in mind. And that's my little suggestion. Hey, chat pops up in the upper right hand corner, but then it disappears. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see.
We had a question from the
chat. Yeah. So one person asked, what would you suggest if we are struggling with getting in contact with the teachers of record? So the first thing I would do if you're struggling to get in contact with the teachers of record is I would try to get a hold of the school. Or a department chair at the school. If you're not able to do that, and you're not able to get a hold of a principal, the next level up is the director for the school corporation. And you would, if you can't get a hold of that director, then reach out to me. My contact information is here, and I'll also put it into chat. As far as billing for the student who just wants to talk things out, I'll let Jonathan answer that question. But are there any other questions as far as that communication between school and you? So Randy suggested to get them connected with a guidance counselor. Yeah, and our student services, our school counselors are great right now at helping that social emotional learning. And so you might not want to be the person who necessarily talks out with them, but yeah. So Jonathan, do you want to take over that, how you would bill for the student just wanting to talk things out?
I mean, it still has to so if you're discussing something.
I'm sorry, but we're having a hard time hearing Jonathan.
Oh, you know what? I'm such an idiot. I'm sorry. I have put my microphone up above my head. Oh my goodness. My part was done, so I was done. I apologize. So you still have to, what I was saying is it still has to fit with one of the 5 required activities. So, I mean, I wouldn't cut students off. I mean, if they need to talk, they need to talk. And if you have that relationship with them, absolutely you need to do that. You can't necessarily bill for it though, unless it fits with one of the 5 required activities. So maybe it fits with self-advocacy, something like that, workplace readiness, might make sense depending on what you're talking about. Chances are not everything that you're going to be doing right now is going to fit with one of those activities and be billable. But that isn't to say that it isn't important and that you shouldn't be doing that.
The next question we had was someone would like to know why it's necessary to get additional consent for students who are already actively involved in pre-ETs. It seems like another burden to add for them and for us. And so I completely understand that. The reason why you're getting additional consent is because your way of providing pre-ETs is changing. And so if you have a family who might have been reluctant in the beginning to do pre-ETs, or they were really focused on school, that consent can be as simple as a email or a phone conversation. I'm just providing a way for you to get e-signatures if you want to be a little bit more formalized, but it doesn't need to be something super formal. It's just something to just keep in mind, just to double check that they're okay with receiving the services. And if they're not, just making sure school's informed in case they're thinking about that as being a way to address some of the students' IEP needs at this time. So
to me, it kind of sounds like some of the stuff they've already been doing. I mean, if you've talked with parents and said, this is what we would like to do we have your approval? Or schools know that this is what you're doing and you're part of the continuous learning with schools or the e-learning. It sounds like if you've kind of done some of that stuff, that should be okay, I think. Does that sound right?
Yeah. And so if you're providing services, if you're providing your services year round already, then you probably don't need to worry about doing additional consent. This is for people who might be doing some different things than what you've been doing in the past. And so it's just a check-in. Doesn't need to be anything super formal.
Jody, is there any exception being made to the amount of billing that is typically required? You would need to talk to your agency or provider lead about that. We don't really have set amounts of billing that we require, but probably on your end you do. So you would need to talk to somebody in charge at your agency about that. Randy says he's given a flyer to students' families mentioning we are available for pre-ETs and let school contacts know as well. Great. I think that sounds good. I think most have kind of done that. Are we ready now for, I think next up we have Kathy Savage with Opportunity Enterprises.
Yeah. So
you want to share your screen then, and we'll keep an eye on the chat for you.
Wonderful. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
It is afternoon. You know, I'm in a different time zone. I'm on Chicago time up here, so it could be afternoon.
I don't even know what
First
day it
of
is.
all, I just want to thank everybody for joining. I'm Kathy Park Savage, Senior Director of Employment Services and Transition at Opportunity Enterprises. I want to thank Elizabeth Mangan, who is our lead student career advisor, for creating the PowerPoint. She pulled together everybody's stuff, which made it easy for me. And Opportunity Enterprises is part of a collaboration for transition. And within our collaboration, we have Fort Wayne Goodwill, Pathfinder, Park Center, Corvella, and Logan, all in one. So this is, as a group, we're doing things very similar to what I'm going to go ahead and present to you. And again, a big thanks to all the student career advisors or transition specialists, whatever your title is, for being willing to continue the good work that is necessary and important for these students of Indiana. So thank you. So this is about online meetings 101. These are tips for communicating with students and teams. We sent out COVID-19 letters immediately. If you haven't done that, I can share what our letter looks like. We'll put my email information in the chat. We sent out a letter to faculty, administration, teachers, and then we sent out a separate letter to parents and students. And just let them know, similar to the permission Michelle was talking about, that we wanted to continue to provide these services and offer up the availability to continue to learn from home. We follow up with the students. It's super important just to ensure that we have the best contact information for them, how they would like to meet with us. And setting time is essential. And it allows them to practice their self-advocacy skills, saying, hey, yes, I'd like to meet at these times, and these are the things that I would like to learn more about or discuss. Not all the kids jumped on right away, surprise. Like Michelle said, this is a really stressful time for them. They're trying to figure out how they're going to e-learn. We have some schools where in Northwest Indiana, in the region area that many of the students we're serving didn't have access to laptops, did not have access to a computer in their home. Some didn't even have internet. So those were all kinds of things that we worked through with them. Again, that's all about the, did I stop sharing?
You did.
But we can see you very clearly.
Oh, I cut my own hair. I hope it doesn't look too bad.
Looks great.
Thank you. Let me see if I can get this back up. Share. There we go. Can you see that? Okay. So again, accessing the student online was tricky in some areas, and some areas it's working out really well for everyone. I will tell you, once we started reaching out to the parents, they were thrilled to find out that the service was still available, and they kind of started setting appointments for their students. And we found that there were many families who wanted to keep their student engaged. And so up here, they're doing schools in Northwest Indiana Monday, Wednesday, Friday, off Tuesday, Thursday, where they're setting them up for time with us on those Tuesdays and Thursdays, just to keep them active and something going on, and a routine and a schedule. We also found it very helpful to find out what the school's learning management system was, because there were different things that different schools use. Some had some Sky thing, different management systems. And then what we did is we broke everyone down into groups, seniors, juniors, sophomore, freshmen, and found things within those grade levels, and really started working with the seniors to make sure we're meeting the profile requirements for each student. If they were going to college, these were just, we set up these vocational programs and college lists. We set up resource areas that everyone had access to through SharePoint, so we could pull down information quickly for students. And then we're using the WinTech, Cooter, Indiana Career Connect, the life course framework. This is a beautiful time to be able to be working with students on that. And we found that to be extremely beneficial. And then remote activities. We got creative. We meet as a team twice a week through Google Hangouts. And I said, nothing's off the table. Let's get creative, and then we can bring it back in as needed. But we've got all kinds of great activities happening, and we have students engaging. You can use Google Meets to meet with the students, the parents, the faculty. We're video chatting and talking over the phone. The phones have gotten a little tricky for us because they're personal cell phones. We don't have company phones, so our personal phone numbers are not really something we want to share with everyone. So we're letting them know if you get a blocked number during this time, we set those meetings up ahead of time. Please answer the phone because it's us. Again, the Google Meets that I talked about, it was really simple to get everybody set up, and you send the invite and they hop right on. This is kind of what, if you're not using this, this is what that homepage looks like. And then you just join now as it shows there. We tried to Photoshop my face in there. It didn't work, darn it. And then you'll appear on the screen, and your student will appear on the screen, and then you can share information just like I'm doing now. It's very, very important. We have found that we set schedules every week for students. And now what's fun is they're telling their friends, and now we have groups of kids that are wanting to come together. And so we're going to start having some contests about, how many of your friends can you get to join? This is, what topics do you want? And then we're going to offer prizes for who invite the most people, just to keep it moving, make it fun, and keep people motivated. Again, take your time, be kind to yourself. Going from being in a classroom setting or face-to-face or out in the community with students one-on-one or in group, this is a big shift. So be kind to yourself. Make sure you're surrounding yourself with supportive people that'll help you. And again, my contact information will be there. Feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help anybody in any way we can during this difficult time. So I thank you.
Thanks so much, Kathy. That was great. We had a few questions and comments that you can assist with. I don't know. Let's see. One person said emails to students through their school email receive no replies. So that's not good.
To us. That was happening to us a lot. And that's when we pulled those permission slips that have everyone's information on it. And that's really when we started calling parents or guardians and saying, hey, and then the parents are like, what? They're not getting back to you? So really reaching out to the parents and helping build a busy day has helped a lot.
I'm sure parents would be grateful for that, especially right now.
They really are. And it's given us an opportunity with the parents to really start talking about our summer programming and what that's going to look like and launch. And we're going to hire paras for the summer to help us out because the interest for summer programming is huge. Kids want to get back together. Their parents need them out doing things once we're on the other side of this. So it's a good opportunity when that's happening to discuss your summer programming and what that's going to look like.
I agree. Someone chatted, what happens if they try to invite students who aren't our clients?
Oh, I know. That's tricky. But you can only bill for who you have a permission slip with, but if others want to sign a release and join and learn, and because we go into classrooms and do teaching where everyone's not our client. So this, to me, it's about keeping people engaged and just pouring in to students no matter what right now.
Yep. Makes sense. And if you can get them qualified, you could do that. But if not, they're still a part of the group. That's fine.
Correct.
Not a problem. All right. It looks like we have a lot of good resources and other information here to share. Someone's asking, when are you scheduling your summer programming? We're concerned the governor might not release until late summer.
We are going to continue on doing what we're doing until the governor releases. So we're going to have everything set up. And once it launches, we're just calling it week 1 and putting students in there. And then once we've got notification that we can launch, we're moving forward. We already have all kinds of internships, both paid and unpaid, already set up, ready to go. As soon as it's safe, as soon as it's safe for us to leave our homes.
I like that idea of labeling it week 1, week 2. So that makes sense. In the interest of time, I think we need to move along to Miriam O'Malley Long with Bona Vista. Miriam, can you take the reins? Hi.
Absolutely. Hi, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. Okay, I'm going to share my PowerPoint. There it is. Sorry, being a little slow. It's temporarily frozen. Okay, we're just going to see it like this. Can you guys see it okay? From the beginning. All right. All right, so I'm Miriam O'Malley Long with Bona Vista Programs. I'm the Director of Vocational and Transition Services, and we work with the North Central Collaborative. Our North Central Collaborative has Bona Vista, Hopewell Center, Hillcroft, Meridian Services, the Arc of Wabash, Future Choices, and Carry Services. So the first thing I want to chat about today is communication. I know we've all chatted about this already, but truly communication is key during this time. Communication not only with our students, but the families, teachers, school administration is key to providing those virtual services and really just letting them know that services are continuing. It's going to look a little different, but we're doing it virtually. So you can do that by calling, emailing the parents and students to set up additional communications like Zoom and FaceTime. Email the students. What we have seen is, yes, sometimes students aren't answering or opening those emails also. But when we're in communication with those teachers of record, they're able to let us know what days the students are working on their schoolwork. And so that might be a way to, or if we know the days that they're doing schoolwork, they'll be more prone to answer their school email during those days. And really just making sure that you get those e-learning schedules from the teachers is really important. Of course, continue to check in weekly with those teachers of records. When we're in the schools, we see the teachers of records frequently. We talk to them almost daily. So we really want to make sure that communication is ongoing. Pre-ETS for us has really just grown and grown and grown this past school year. So we want to make sure that communication is still going to ensure those positive relationships. So when next school year starts, we will be in a good place with those relationships and things moving along positively. Use social media appropriately. We've created a pre-ETS Facebook group. It's a private group, so we get to invite the families, students, the teachers, school admin into our Facebook group. And we're really using that to share information, videos, activities, updates, resources, just putting things out there and just continuing to communicate that way. Everybody's on Facebook, so everybody should be able to get that information. If you have a student or family that's difficult to reach over the phone or an email, obviously snail mail the information about the virtual services to those families. You can also put together like activity packets, additional resources, and snail mail it out to the families. So I broke it down by different categories and just some, different creative ways. I'm sure you guys are all doing things like this, but some of the things that we're working on the North Central Collaborative, scheduling Zoom meetings with the students. You can complete so many activities virtually that we previously did in person, but we can just transition a lot of that into these virtual services. You can work with the students in Zoom or even FaceTime, Google Hangouts, whatever that format is, to complete career assessments. You can screen share a lot of the videos when you're with the student to work on a lot of those activities. The IU Transition Matrix website has some fantastic resources. And if you're on Zoom or something where you can screen share, you can pull that right up and screen share with the student to complete those. There have been, specifically for job exploration counseling, just the local labor market has changed where, there's a lot of unemployment right now, but certain careers are hiring. So just talking about the hiring increases with those delivery services, Amazon, Walmart, places like that. Also review the student rubric and goals with the student, update those goals as needed. You can work on emailing assignments to the students to complete on Indiana Career Explorer and discuss with them the results. Email the students video links to watch and then hold a phone call or follow-up conversation with them after viewing the video. Also post those videos on your pre-ETS Facebook group for the students to watch. Send those, links or assignments to them weekly, and work with students to identify growth so far this school year and have them kind of come up with what they think their next steps need to be. Document that in a report and send it to your teacher of record. So when we're back in school and when next school year starts, it'll be a nice handy report that the teacher of record will be able to have and really be able to see what the student has specifically worked on during this year. And then also put together an activity packet and mail to the students to complete. I see some questions coming in. Should we hold off until the end, Jonathan, for questions?
If you want to answer as you go, I think that's fine. Either way.
Okay. The box got really small. I'm not sure what they were.
I had the same problem. So one question was, this could be either for Michelle or for you. What if your school will not allow any video communication? My school does not allow me to email students, so everything has to go through the teacher of record. Students can't email career coach, so all communication is done through use of personal cell phone. Any suggestions? Wow.
That's a tricky one. I know each school is so different, isn't it, with what they allow and what they don't allow. That's a good question. Michelle, what's your feedback on that?
Yeah, so there was, as I'm sure you might be aware, there was a huge security glitch because a lot of people were using Zoom for the first time and not knowing how to use Zoom during this time. And so, of course, people took advantage of it. There's ways to use Zoom safely, but a lot of schools, lawyers advise them to just not. So that's why the video communication is being cut out from some schools. You have parent contact information. You have set up relationships where you have given consent for you to contact parents directly. And so as long as you're keeping the school in the loop, here's what we're doing. We're going to reach out to parents. I think you're fine. You're not going to do anything that you wouldn't do during the normal school year as far as those communications. And so as long as the parents are okay with you staying in contact with their children, that's what matters. And that's where that consent piece comes back in. So that's my advice. Kristen, I will get that phone number for you. I'm going to go into my cell phone real quick and pull it up. So give me a second there. But yeah, that's my advice is if you go into that intake form and you have that parent contact information, feel free to reach out, keep the school in the loop, and then just make sure the parents are in the loop, school is in the loop, communication is key.
Yeah, I agree. I think that sounds great. And then the communication with the school and sometimes just reassuring them that, hey, we do have authorization to work with this student. Parents have signed off on it. Sometimes might help also increase that. Thank you. Good job. I'm going to keep going. Additional opportunities and ideas. When you look at virtual counseling for post-secondary ideas, there's some really neat things that you can do. Again, with Zoom in a safe way or FaceTime. There are a lot of, online college tours. You can complete virtual college visits. I listed a website here that's really awesome. If you haven't visited uvisit.com, you can type in any school, any college, and do a virtual visit, and see what the school looks like. And it's almost like being there. Also, a lot of the college websites that you go to, you can live chat with the school rep. And so that would be a really neat way just to, when the student's there FaceTiming or Zooming, have those conversations virtually with those school reps. Gather that FAFSA information. You can review online course catalogs and help the students locate those support services at those colleges and universities that they'll need when they start to go there. Additionally, just that Indiana Career Explorer, our Bonavista group uses Indiana Career Explorer a lot. And there's so many great resources and videos for the students that you can, email, suggest, call, let them know what resources to do, have them complete it, and then do a follow-up phone call and check those results. Also, just work with students again to identify their growth so far this school year, document what their next steps are, and share that information with the teacher of record. Email and call the student to discuss awareness of career paths. There's so much you can do virtually. For the virtual workplace readiness, some additional ideas that we had chatted about and that some of our guys and gals are doing is complete mock interviews. That can be done, virtually over Zoom, FaceTime, but you can also do those over the phone. You can do, screen sharing videos on what a good interview looks like, what a bad interview looks like. Screen share those IU Matrix activities. Again, that's such a wonderful website and so many great resources there. Looking at what a good resume is versus a bad resume, maybe even have the student draft up what they believe a good resume looks like and what is a bad resume. And also just watching videos on professionalism. Additionally, you can email independent living skill, building activities, send, household chores, hygiene, budgeting activities, and then encourage them to complete something and follow up or Zoom or FaceTime with them while they're working on it. Create videos for students demonstrating a specific task and assign a student a question to answer it. We've had some success with our teachers of records putting that on their e-learning platform. So if you have a video or if you put something together, again, that communication with the teacher of record can help share that resource with the student. And then a student can answer, if you send them a video to watch, they can, answer and respond to you via email. This is really important is with social media, have the students review their own social media accounts and let them know, obviously with workplace readiness, oftentimes employers are going to look at your social media. So talk with them about their virtual footprint that employers might look at and might see. And again, send out those activity packets, the curriculum pieces that you're already working on or might have in contact. Send those things home with them. You can snail mail, scan, email it out. For self-advocacy, work on the life course framework. Again, this was brought up earlier. Such a wonderful time right now to really dive deep into what that life course framework can look like. There are some great IU Matrix self-determination activities. Review with the student their IEP. Sometimes we have students who might not even realize they have an IEP until you ask them, hey, you go to those, you have those meetings, right? Oh yeah, that's my IEP. Post your resources in your pre-ETS Facebook group, and then also have student identify strengths and areas they need to grow and work with student to identify growth and again, their next steps and document all of that in a report for their teacher of record. And then my last slide is just some of the resources that I had listed. If you haven't already been to the IU Matrix website, the link is right here. The Life Course Framework, I'm sure many of you know you can download that in PDF form and work on it. And then the link to the UVisit website is right there as well. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. Okay, and I'm back. Yay. Oh.
Thanks so much, Miriam. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We had a couple of questions. I hope I didn't miss any of these. Michelle, let me know if I did. Dwana is asking me if we create activity packets and send them out, how do we bill? Just for the preparation time and creating the packets. I think that one's on me. You putting the packets together isn't really a billable type thing. If you are working on a specific group of students, for instance, if you maybe have a life skills class, or if you have an individual student that you need to gather specific resources for with that particular student or group of students in mind, then working to kind of pull those resources and think about how you're going to present those and prepare them for that particular individual or group would be billable. Putting the packet together and sending them out is really administrative and really wouldn't be billable.
Yeah. And then you can, do the follow-up phone calls, FaceTime, the follow-up communication with them on what their results were, can be billable and can definitely be a service provided. But not the actual, yeah, you're right, the administrative piece, not so much billable.
So Randy, or Joe, I don't understand. For us, we've been billing for the planning, recording, and finalizing the screencast videos. Randy, we might need to talk separately. I think I need more information on that before I can kind of figure out what you're doing is actually billable or not, just not to put, too fine a spin on it. The other thing I will tell you is that Will Coltrion and I are going to be talking next week about still doing the provider meeting. It's usually like agency leads and contract leads in May that we had scheduled, but doing that virtually. Part of what we're going to be doing is putting together some information on billing, right now, what's allowable, what isn't, that kind of thing, because we seem to be having kind of a lot of questions and confusion around that at this point. But Randy, if we want to talk separately and I can get some more information, I don't think we have time necessarily to go over all this right now. But let's discuss and we can kind of figure that out. I suspect some of it may be billable and some of it probably isn't necessarily. So again, in the interest of time, let's move on to Easter Seals Arc Northeast with Lucas Krager. Lucas, can you share your screen? Absolutely. Thank you, Miriam.
I see that. Okay. All right. My name is Lucas Krager from. All right. Just making sure. From Easter Seals Arc of Fort Wayne, Indiana. We have been doing pre-eds for about 3 going on 4 weeks now. So we haven't really perfected everything, but we do have a system in place, and I just want to share those resources with you. So what we're going to discuss through this PowerPoint is, why is it important to continue with the pre-ed services, how we got started with doing the remote pre-eds, and then the curriculum as well as logistics, how it's implemented, and then some future plans that we're planning towards. So why it's still important, we still want to provide the skills to participants just because the unemployment rate is at 20-some%. So we just want to make sure that when we do reach the other side of this, that the participants' skills are still remaining sharp and top notch, and even more so now just because of the unemployment rate. So getting started, we had the coordinators call the students within their school that they already had built the relationships with. We got a hold of the parents and students and discussed an appointment time that would work best for them. So some of them said only 2 days a week. Some of them said every day a week. So we really tried to focus on what worked well with the students. So as you see off to the right, you have a student call log is what we titled it. We just asked the simple questions of what their email is, their address, their phone number. And then we asked 2 specific questions. What kind of technology is available to them? That way we can make sure that we have access, whether it's through the phone or whether it's through FaceTime or Facebook Live, however that may look for that individual student, we made sure that we took that into consideration. Another question that we asked them when we were on the phone is, would you still like lunch? Because even though you're at home, some students still don't have access to that lunch that they would get normally every day in their school. So what we did is once we had all of that information, we created a roster of that information and then started mapping out students' addresses and created routes based off of those addresses. So as far as the curriculum, we still use the same curriculum that we would normally use when we're in the school. So attainment pre-eds curriculum, skills pay the bills, just to name a few. And then as some had already stated, we're also using those college virtual tours. And then in each learning lesson, we include multiple learning styles. And then we also pair those with videos and activities. We just want to make sure that the students are staying engaged, just like they would normally do in a school setting. So what we're doing again is we're creating those curriculum packets for each student that have said yes to the virtual services. And those packets are delivered only on Mondays and Wednesdays. So Monday's packet will consist of Tuesdays and Wednesdays learning lesson. And then Wednesdays will contain Thursday, Friday, and then Monday's learning lessons. Those are typically delivered between 11 and 1:30. We thought that was important just to make sure that it wasn't sporadic throughout the day or even throughout the week on when we were arriving to each of the students' homes. On those days, they're a little longer because we are stopping at each individual houses. So we have 3 drivers and then 3 routes. And again, those are longer days as Mondays and Wednesdays. Now, like I said before, we are providing lunches to those students that have wanted those. We have partnered with the restaurants in the community and used the connections that we already had. Just to name a few, we have Lucille's and then Umi's. And again, we deliver those every day between 11 and 1:30. So on Mondays and Wednesdays, they're longer because we are delivering to everybody on our roster that have agreed to these virtual services. And then on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, they are shorter just because we're just giving out those lunches. So not every student that we have listed on our roster are wanting a lunch. So those days we have 2 drivers, 2 routes, and again, those are shorter. So a couple of pictures that are associated with this slide. Down in the right-hand corner is just some lunch pictures that I thought were great. That is by Umi's. And then we also have just a general map of Fort Wayne, and we started mapping out the general location. And again, we have like a central route, a northeast route, and then a west route. So we're also servicing Columbia City, which is about 20, 30 minutes away from Fort Wayne. So that is a route, and then the west side of Fort Wayne is also a route. So how we implement that is the coordinators will follow up with each of the students via phone or whatever technology is available to them that we have documented. They will review or go through those learning packets together, and we have a goal with each of the students to talk to them over the phone with over 30 minutes. Again, we're trying to keep them as engaged as possible, so we're including those activities and videos just to keep them engaged in what we're discussing. So future, what we're planning on is we add students daily. So I have a coordinator that's reaching out to the students that have already been enrolled in pre-eds and just reaching out, making sure that we are providing that opportunity to every student that is enrolled in pre-eds. If we do not get a hold of them and we have to leave a message or we don't get any returning calls, we send out letters to the addresses that we have on file just to make sure that, again, we're providing that opportunity to everyone. And then we're also looking forward to group learning lessons as we keep growing and whatnot. We want to make sure that, again, we're providing that opportunity to all of the students that we have listed. So we may end up having to do group learning lessons. Right now, I know it says we serve 50 students, but since I turned this in, we actually have 61 as of today. And then about 25 to 30 lunches are being provided to those students. And any specific questions about the system that we have in place? Let me try to exit out of this real quick.
So much for that. Uh-oh, getting a little feedback for some reason. I don't know where that's coming from.
And then I just wanted to go over real quick some of the things that are billable under our system is reviewing, like Jonathan said, just making sure it's specific to those students, as well as talking to the students over the phone or over the with the technology that's available to them. So those are the two things that are billable. The delivery of packets is not billable, and nor is the creating of packets.
But it's still great work and very important and a great way to engage the parents and students. So you're going to be doing some of that stuff, but it's important. You just, unfortunately, can't bill for all of that. But I think it's great. That's one of the highlights I talked about yesterday, among other things, at the kind of the national webinar that you guys were doing that. I thought it was really cool. Could you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I was getting a little feedback. So, all right. Thanks, Lucas. And then last but not least, we now have Mary Ellen Jones with Stone Belt. And Mary Ellen also gets a special shout out. It was really her idea to kind of do this. She came up with this idea for Stone Belt. And I said, well, let's get some more providers together and put this together. So thank you, Mary Ellen. You're on now.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep, there it is. We can see you. We got
You
it.
can hear me then. All right.
Yes, that too.
Okay. So welcome to virtual teaching in Priettes. My name is Mary Ellen Jones. I'm the Youth and Family Supports Manager for Stone Belt out of Bloomington. I oversee our Priettes program, Project Search, and our Family Supports program, which includes some respite and PAC services in the home and community. And before that, I was heavily involved in employment. And so today I'm just going to share with you what we've been doing to provide Priettes services virtually. So I'm going to share with you different ways that we've been delivering virtual services. And although that's been covered a lot, I probably won't go over some of that. And then how to not only stay billable during these times, but how to maximize billing. March was our crisis response month, and we had our biggest billable month to date. And I'm going to share with you why that was. Also, why it's important to identify students that are at risk. And I'll share some of our programming ideas and one-on-one versus groups, as well as how to support teachers and parents at this time. So some of our service deliveries, which have pretty much gone over, is Facebook, Google Hangouts Meets, Zoom, email, snail mail, and phone. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this since we've talked about it a lot. Just a few things I will share with you. Get it to go to the next slide. There we go. So I would recommend not using your personal Facebook, but setting up a Facebook page. We have a Priettes, a Stone Belt Priettes Facebook page. And I put some slides on here so you could reference back. But if you set up a page, you can put all of your instructors as an editor or an admin, so they can go in and use that Facebook Messenger as well. You can group call through Facebook Messenger, and you can video call that way. It is a way that we also get our information out. Some of you may know that we're doing a daily challenge. And so what we do is we pick a theme for the week. This week is independent living skills. And each day we have a challenge. And I have an instructor per day tell me what the challenge is. They make the challenge. Today was laundry. And we throw up a video. And then whatever student gets the most challenges done in a week gets the Chick-fil-A card. And we got those donated to us through Chick-fil-A. So none of this has costed us money, and it gets the students engaged. Once we get that up there, what we do is you can reach out to your student and work that with them. So you could, through video call, etc., go step by step. And if they have questions, you can work through those tasks with them, or even how to get it uploaded. So we talked about Google Hangouts and Zoom. We prefer Zoom. The picture that you're looking at is a group that we had that was going over cover letters and resume. You can make that box with the faces smaller so you can see the whole screen. But we really like the option of video. I'm screen sharing with this. Right now, Zoom is free. They have opened it all up, but it's for 40 minutes. So if you go past 40 minutes, you can just log right back in and it'll keep going. But what we have found is when we do that, we lose some students because they don't know how to, log back in, or we just have lost them. So we've chosen to pay for some Zoom accounts, and it's not very expensive. I believe, and don't quote me on this, it's about $14 a month. And it's just, for us, super beneficial. So this is the way that we're preferring to use our services right now. And then there's good old email, snail mail, and phone, which have also been talked about. We have also snail mailed packets out and worked with those students via phone for the ones that don't have the internet services. So talking about billing, I've gone through some of this, the sending the curriculum, and everyone else has talked about what part of that's billable and what's not. Using our Zoom screen sharing features to go over curriculum and go over classes. The other thing is, on the other slide, you might have seen there was like an A, B, C, D. So when the students choose their option, they can chat separately just to the instructor, so not everybody sees it. So the instructor would see what everybody's answer is on that. Right now, our groups are super popular. They can be chaotic, so you really need to set rules for those groups when you go into them. Our one-on-ones seem to be much more productive, but our groups are really popular. So going back to talking about why this has been our biggest month, it really surprised me because we started off March doing pre-eds like we normally do. Then we went into a week of just doing one-on-ones. We got rid of all of our groups when we were working on social distancing. And then that next week, when we kind of went in lockdown, we went strictly virtual. So we were able to adjust pretty quickly. But what I have found is that, first of all, we're not driving anymore. So that takes away all of our driving time. And now my instructors are just back to back to back with their meetings. Not only that, but because groups are so popular and everyone's stuck at home, they're wanting to jump on those group calls. And we've set up some daily meet groups, and now we have more groups than we had before. We used to always have an after school group, but now we have groups during the day as well. So we've bumped up our group numbers, and we've also removed that driving time. And that's where we're seeing some of our billing bumps. So it's been working out really well. Also, I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes, but collaborating with the teachers and parents and how we do that and how that's been successful for us. I just want to share with you a slide. So this is an example of my instructor's day. So I use the Google Calendar, and I have them share their calendar with me. And if you get the Chrome extension, you can get the Zoom Chrome extension. So whenever you set up a meeting, you can make it a Zoom meeting and it goes right in there. And at any time I could pop in and see, and I could pop in on any of those meetings, but I can see what, where everyone's at and what they're doing. And you can just see how they have like set up kind of back-to-back meetings. There's billable time in there, some prep time in there, but virtually they're staying pretty productive. And this was really just even our first week. So we've been building it up some more. So I just wanted to share with you how we do that and how we're able to see and can, from a distance, monitor everyone. So some of our programming ideas that I'm going to share with you is, so we've done some teacher support. We have had some, right at the beginning, right off the bat, a big Zoom meeting with all of our teachers and the head of special education. And we discussed with them how we were moving forward and what we were doing virtually with pre-eds. And then we asked them to really think about and target those students that are graduating, our seniors that are graduating and are really struggling. And this is going to be an important time for them because they only have, a month or 2 months of learning, and they just have to do it in a whole new way. So we asked them to target those students who could really use some organizational help. And we would reach out to them and help them organize their day. We're not doing any tutoring, but help them self-advocate for themselves of how do they ask those questions to their teachers, but really working and focusing on those students who need to graduate. So we find that to be really important. Another risk area that we're looking at are just those maybe poorer, more stressful populations where the families don't have internet, they can't get their work done. Maybe, the families aren't working and so they're stressed out. So we're trying to focus on them too. Again, we're keeping all of our same pre-ETS active individuals, but we're trying to focus on some of these risk areas during this transition time. We've also created a parent support liaison. So I've been able to take one of my employment consultants who doesn't have a lot of work right now and move them over as a parent liaison. And what we've done here is I've had her reach out to all the parents, and we're doing this on a weekly basis. And so we're giving them some relief. We're asking them, what do they need? What's their student doing that they need help with? Maybe it's just a morning routine. Maybe they're not brushing their teeth and taking showers now. It could be that simple, or it could be, they're really struggling with the e-learning. And so this is hard for parents too. And I can vouch for that because I'm a parent. My first week at home with my kids was hard. So we can reach out to them and say, what kind of goals do you want for your kid on a weekly basis? And we're going in and we're kind of changing our goals and looking at how we're programming and how we're moving forward with these kiddos right now. And then the parent liaison is taking that and going to the instructor and saying, this is what the parent wants, this is what they need. And then they're able to focus on that for their next week's programming. And in our documentation, that parent liaison is able to pull that up and talk to them about the parent the next week and follow up and say, this is what happened last week, what's going on this week. Because as we all know, teenagers don't always talk to parents and tell them everything that's going on. One of those groups that I told you about, and then back to the parent support group, we started a parent support group, and it's Friday afternoons, and it just allows all the parents to come and discuss. It's kind of just a support group for parents during this time. And then we have a Zoom room daily, and that is during the day. That's one of our very popular groups right now. And so every day we have a different theme. Monday's career exploration, Tuesdays is exercise, Wednesdays is group mock interview. Because, we do a lot of mock interviews, but how often do we get to do group mock interviews? So we thought this is a good idea and good time to do that. And then Thursday we work on workplace etiquette, and Friday is a game day. And so like the exercise and the game day, those are all following instructions, social skills, etc. We're going to continue our internship program. So this was a little tricky. Before this happened, we started a DSP internship program. We're calling it DSP Boost. And we are training some of our higher functioning, more of like the peer tutors to be DSPs. We're running them through our regular DSP program training. And we're doing that in a smaller group. They're getting first aid, CPR. We have a bunch of things on Relias. And so we're working through that. But in addition to that, we added 10 weeks, but with 13 binders of curriculum on life skills. And towards the end of this internship program, the first 6 weeks was classroom time. We were going to spend 2 weeks in group homes and in day programs working on laundry and kitchen skills and all of the life skills that a lot of our DSPs, younger DSPs, may be lacking. And so we wanted to boost them up and give them these extra skills. So when they start as a DSP, they'll be able to be a good DSP. And when this happened was right at a shadowing time. So what we're doing is doing virtual shadowing through Zoom. And so we'll have an instructor say it's a kitchen skills. We'll show the kitchen skills, and then the students have to take their turns on doing the same thing at home. So we're still working on those skills. It's just virtual and together and in the group. So we've been able to continue that. Then we created a peer-to-peer program, and that's with our higher functioning individuals. And actually, we've used our DSPs and some others for that, our DSP interns, and we're pairing them with some of our lower functioning individuals. We're letting the higher functioning individuals kind of help create what their group time will look like, and we're following them and just kind of guiding them in that time. And so that's been working out good too. We just got that off the ground last week. We have you may or may not have heard of our student self-advocates group. They meet every week, and we did have once a month a speaker series. And the speaker series would be for teachers, family members, parents, anybody in the community can come to that. But we would have each month somebody come and talk about something that's important during transition. We've had beads come, we've had the art come, we've had VR come. We're going to continue that, but do it virtually. And I think right now, at least for the next month or two, we're going to bump it up to every other week, just to be able to really push out some information to these families. We were talking about pulling in, just having the heads of special ed come and talk, through Zoom one time and answer questions about graduation, because there's a lot of questions about that right now. We've talked about, having Work One come and talk about unemployment, because there's a lot of questions about that. So just getting that information out to the families. And then, I talked about focusing on the seniors that are diploma track and the Facebook daily challenge. And that is all I have.
That is great, Mary Ellen. I love all this information, very practical. Thank you so much. We did have one quick question. Are these full-time career coaches? Someone asked, I think.
They are.
Yeah. And how did you get Chick-fil-A to donate the cards?
I
Asked.
asked.
Yes.
And I said, it's for our students right now. We're trying to keep them active. Chick-fil-A is great. You're just telling them that the purpose of it is to help the students stay active, and they were more than happy to donate.
These businesses want to help, and it's great for them to do that. So, yeah. And I also want to point out in the chat box from Brenda Simmons, I won't read the whole thing, but lots of great accolades and shout outs to everyone. And I told her I'm really proud of this group. I think you guys are doing amazing work. I'm so glad you all agreed to assist with this today. And thanks so much for everything you do. We will stay on see if there's any final questions here for a few more minutes. And then I think we'll be done for the day. But thanks again, everybody. I thought this was amazing.